Hi there, welcome to my views on news. Breaking news for you. Very strong statement issued by Ethiopia today. The statement is a warning, rather, it's a threat, I think. Ethiopia threatened Somalia and Egypt today. Things heating up very rapidly. I have been updating you about Ethiopia Somaliland MOU, about Egypt Somalia cooperation, about movement of Ethiopian military in the Somali region of Ethiopia. A lot could happen if there is no amicable solution to Ethiopia Somalia tensions. What did Ethiopia say in this new statement? The Foreign Ministry of Ethiopia published this statement today. The statement, I think, even a layman can conclude reading the statement that Ethiopia is threatening Somalia. Ethiopia is running out of patience, and if Ethiopian concerns are not addressed, Ethiopia could make big decisions. By the way, when Ethiopia signed the controversial MOU with Somaliland in January this year, after that, Somalia launched a diplomatic campaign against Ethiopia. Somalia's president, its officials gave some very strong statements. Ethiopia always showed restraint. But now Ethiopia is running out of patience. It is resorting to threats, resorting to warnings. Ethiopia says that the new mission, which is going to replace ATMIS in Somalia, is a threat to the region, threat to Ethiopian national security. We know that by the end of this year, existing peacekeeping mission in Somalia called ATMIS, African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, will come to an end. This mission has troops from Ethiopia, Djibouti, Uganda, Kenya, Burundi. From January, a new mission will take over. Awesome. African Union Sport and Stability Mission in Somalia is the name of this new mission. Ethiopian troops won't be part of the new mission. Some other countries also won't be part of this mission. The countries whose troops are part of this mission now. New countries will arrive, especially Egypt will take over. Egyptian troops already arriving in Somalia. Egypt and Djibouti going to be two key players in 2025 in Somalia. Obviously, that's not what Ethiopia wants to see in its neighborhood. Egypt is Ethiopian rival, by the way. When Ethiopian leaders talk about historical enemies, they always imply that Egypt is one of their historical enemies trying to destabilize Ethiopia. And one of the key issues between them is GERD, which has been completed. And last week, PM Abiy went to GERD's site and he congratulated Egypt and Sudan. That was basically adding salt, rubbing salt into the wounds of Egypt. Basically, he threatened Egypt indirectly through that message from GERD's site that if Egypt does not stop from interfering in Ethiopian neighborhood, Ethiopia could be forced to use GERD to silence Egypt, to force Egypt to change its intervention, its interference in Ethiopian neighborhood. Though Abiy never said that, but I think it was a veiled message, a veiled threat from Ethiopian PM to Egypt. And then we saw that around more than 24 hours ago, two C-130 planes, military transport planes, landed in Mogadishu carrying Egyptian military equipped Egyptian military personnel. Egyptian troops set to take over new peacekeeping mission in Somalia. Ethiopia is running out of patience now. It says that the new mission could be a threat to region and Ethiopia. Why? Because Ethiopian troops won't be part of the new mission. First point made by Ethiopia today. Second point, alarming. Ethiopia can't sit idle. What does it mean? Ethiopia threatening Somalia, threatening Egypt. They don't expect Ethiopia that it would just accept Egyptian military uh, presence in its neighborhood or complete Ethiopian troops withdrawal from Somalia. Ethiopia won't let that happen. This is what Ethiopia is saying in diplomatic language. Ethiopia won't sit idle. Point number two. Point number three. Other countries are concerned too. Ethiopia says that it's not just Ethiopia alone. Other countries in the region concerned. Which other countries? We don't know, no names, but it seems that maybe Kenya, or if Kenya is not part of the new mission, it won't be happy with the new mission. Kenya is Somalia's neighbor. Kenya has been fighting against Al Shabaab, Ethiopia as well. So maybe if Abiy talked to some other countries' leaders too, Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, Kenyan President Ruto, etc. And other countries are also going to oppose the new mission. Fourthly, the Mr. Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia directly accused Somalia. He said Somalia is colluding with external actors to destabilize the region. Which external actors? Egypt, Egypt, Egypt. Ethiopia does not want Egypt to expand its military presence in Ethiopian neighborhood. Fifth point raised by Ethiopian Mr. Foreign Affairs is that Ethiopia has been committed to talks, still committed to talks. Talks have been held. Tangible progress was made in the talks. Follow-up should have happened for a peaceful resolution, but Somalia is colluding with external actors to destabilize the region. And Ethiopia is indirectly warning or requesting UN, African Union, that they should ensure that the new mission takes into account the concerns of neighboring countries too, as Ethiopia sacrificed a lot. Ethiopia fought against Al Shabaab, so it cannot now let this armed group again pose a threat to Ethiopian national security. This is the strongest statement I have seen since January, since the start of Ethiopia's monetary tensions from Ethiopia. Ethiopia is threatening Somalia and Egypt. By the way, I just want to share one observation with you. Why did Russia-Ukraine war break out? What was the main reason? Russia always says that NATO, US-led NATO, was trying to corner Russia. It entered Poland. It wanted to enter Ukraine. It wanted Ukraine to be NATO's ally. Russia wanted to keep NATO away from its borders. Russia invaded Ukraine. One of the main reasons behind this war is that Russia wanted to keep its adversaries, its rivals, away from its borders. That is how international politics, international affairs work. It's not right. Every country is sovereign, they have every right to join whoever they want to join in terms of global powers. But stronger countries always dictate terms. Americans, if Russians try to expand military presence in Mexico, will Americans allow that? They won't. What happened in Cuba missile crisis? Americans will never let Russians or Chinese to come close to American borders. Ethiopia sees itself as a stronger country than Somalia. It does not want Egypt to expand its military presence close to Ethiopian borders. Egypt tried to gain a foothold in Djibouti. Ethiopia thwarted that attempt. Egypt tried to sign military cooperation agreement with Sudan, then Sudan war broke out. Egypt signed an agreement with South Sudan too. Again, Ethiopia came in the way of Egypt. Now, Ethiopia wants to stop Egypt from setting foot in Somalia. So things are very tense, I believe. 2024 is the most tense year for peace and security in the Horn of Africa. And by the way, Ethiopian concerns should not be taken lightly. If Russia can invade Ukraine to keep its rivals away from its borders, Ethiopia can do the same too. It might not wage direct war, it might go for proxy war, it might go for other moves, but basically region will be destabilized. Is Ethiopia right in making this demand? As I said earlier, might is right in international affairs. Somalia has every right to sign defense agreement with any country. It's a sovereign country. It is not Ethiopian regional state. But Ethiopia, I think, will try to flex its muscles. That is why I'm covering the developments in the Suma region of Ethiopia, where Ethiopian General Jula was seen. Then Lieutenant General Mohammed Tassima visited Suma region, Jigjaga, and after that, Damascus Tirone, former intelligence agency chief, and now Deputy Prime Minister, went to Suma region. New military base is being established there. Air Force base to be established there too. Military parade reportedly being planned there. A lot is happening in the Suma region of Ethiopia. That is why I think that Ethiopia should show restraint. Somalia should talk to Ethiopia. Talks should happen. Egypt should also be very careful. If it wants to corner Ethiopia, if it wants to use Somalia as a tool to corner, to weaken Ethiopia, Ethiopia will hit back. And that will be disastrous for the region as a whole. Let's see what happens. Thank you for watching.